Hello and welcome to another edition of the program Total Woman on AD4 TV Radio. My name is Mute Olori. People living with physical or mental conditions that limit their movement, senses and activities are termed people living with disabilities. Over 1 billion people are estimated to live with some form of disability or the other. This amounts for about 15% of the world population. Now, according to the National Population Commission, there are about 19 million Nigerians living with disabilities. And in 2020, a bill that protects disabled individuals from discrimination was signed. Before this bill, there were no updated policy to prevent businesses and individuals from discriminating against disabled persons from important issues like employment or equality in treatment. But today, there are individuals, stakeholders, foundations, amongst others, who have stood up to support people living with disabilities, especially women and children. Today in the studio, I have one of such persons who has devoted her life in seeing that this equality is experienced among people living with disabilities. She's a seasoned and experienced professional banker with well over 20 years in investment and commercial banking. She now runs her NGO with focus on women, youth, and people with disability. She is the founder and president of Women Empowerment, Self-Help, and Social Development Initiative, We Women. Mrs. Frances Ihoma Beke, thank you for joining us on Total Woman.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be with you this morning.
Thank you. Wow. With over how many years in the banking industry and so much, you are here with your own organization and you chose to support and lend a voice to people living with disability. What will you term as the word people living with disability? Is it the same definition that we all have, or there's so much more to it than we know?
Well, thank you very much. I will go by that your definition, but I will add a little more. And I will say that anybody that is unable to take care of himself or herself, physically, spiritually, is disabled. That means if there's any impairment like speech, impairment of sight, it could actually be impairment of emotion. The person is disabled. So you term that person as a disabled person.
Oh, wow. I like the part that impairment of emotion.
Yes. Yes.
Are there people that actually are unable to control or to understand their emotions?
Oh yes, we meet them a lot of them out there. And the unfortunate thing is that such people don't also understand that they're impaired, that they have a problem until you get in touch, get talking with them and they open up. A lot of people are in that category. The stress is so much that you won't even know when you get into that kind of situation. So there are those people who don't need finances, who don't need food, but just need a listening ear. And there's so many of young people in that category.
Wow. Wow. So disability is not only about being physical,
no.
I know, having one impairment or the other, but it could be emotional.
Yes.
Wow, thank you for that. So why did you choose to go into this area?
Well,
what was your motivation?
Well, I've, like you just said, I've retired really, but from active banking, but I'm still doing financial services behind the scene. And you get to find out that the focus, like I keep saying, is not on financing, it's not on money, but there are a lot of things, that you need to get to people to understand. Even if you give them the money, they might not be able to handle such funds. So why I decided is that at the backs of the scene as a banker, God blessed us with some resources, and out of the one God gave you, you were able to take care of people around you and in extent to other people. Now, as an individual, you can't actually take care of that continuously. So that's why I now say, if I'm able to do it behind the scene, now let me create a platform that people will also see what I'm doing, and if they're interested, they can come on board, so that we'll have a lot more people, being taken care of. So that's why I've decided to take care of, to set up a platform that will enable me empower women, empower the youths, and empower those living with some kind of disabilities, because I've actually worked in that area in the past. So that's why I have a passion to assist in that area.
Okay, from your experience, like you said, from the back end, you've had to support these people. What are the challenges, especially those living with disability, women? What are the challenges they go through in accessing funds, trying to become business owners, or even as in their everyday life? What are some of those things you observe that are very challenging for them, and how are they coping?
Number one is the challenge. They're going through the challenges of not believing in themselves, because the society discriminates against them. Even in the families, you see someone that has a physical disability, and it's like, no, you can't do this. But deep down, the person is burning to be given the opportunity to do those things. But because of that limitation, the person is told not to touch that thing. And then when you come to businesses, if you look at people, the way they struggle and the way they get up to even assert themselves, to convince people that they can do this, becomes a challenge. I'll give you a physical example. Most buildings in this country, I've gone around the states and everywhere, there's no policy that takes care of these disabled people in accessing any building. Very, very few buildings like that. So you have somebody who sits on a wheelchair and wants to come into your premises, it becomes a difficult problem. He wheels the wheelchair and gets to a point and gets stuck there until a good Samaritan comes to say, you need the help, and the person is helped. So this discrimination is a lot. And because of that discrimination, you don't believe that they have the capacity to execute any project. And so somebody comes to tender the same contract with somebody else that is physically endowed, no problem. And you're like, what are you here for? And the person says, I'm here to submit my application for this contract, for this job. And it's like, I'm not sure we want someone like you. So what do you expect that person to do?
That's even a mind way of putting it. Some will say, even those that are able, have not been able
to get this. So how do you think you can? And in most cases, surprisingly, when you give them an opportunity, they excel much more than those people who you think that are physically, that have no problem. And that's the irony of life. So that discrimination makes them to get back into their shell. They don't even believe in themselves. And like you asked, why women? It's even worse. They are categorized, women are primarily categorized as in the vulnerable group. And what do I mean? Those people that you don't even remember to come to the forefront when you are making decisions. So those people that are left to find a way to fend for themselves and things like that. And then when you are now a woman and you find yourself in that category, what do? You get married, or you become pregnant, and you're carrying the child with your physical disability and so on. And when the child comes, you've not taken care of yourself. You're talking about taking care of another child, somebody else. So the challenges are just enormous. And like you said, I don't see any policy. Even the ones that are said to be in place, they are not enforced. Nobody takes care of this group of people except by God. So those are the challenges, those are the things. This discrimination is the major problem. Yeah.
So how do you cope dealing with them?
That's why I talked about emotional disability. So you have to talk the person out from that state of loneliness and give the person hope that, look, you are wonderfully made. You are created by God. In fact, it's not your fault to be in this world, but you can live your best out of this world. And you begin to bring them up to accept that, and begin to see that little shine on their faces, and they begin to come out from their shell, and they're beginning to open up to you, and you're beginning to see the potentials in them, and you're beginning to see the things they can do. Most times they are physically like handiwork, they are endowed. They can see because of that, those who are physically disabled, because they are confined in a place. So I think everything God has is now transferred to their hands and to their brain, and they do very well. So you teach them the things that they would help them, you know, to become the people, the persons God created in them.
You know, listening to you, I just imagine times when you have to sit with some of them, hold yourself, and when you go out of there, you cry.
You cry. And that cry is not because of that physical disability. Is look at you, you're created, you have 2 hands, 1 head, 2 eyes, your ears, nothing wrong. And here is someone that has no limbs, and he has so much inside. That thing is coming from inside. And you say, God, I've been ungrateful to you. And that's where that cry comes from. And it happens most times in the process. It does.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
I will try. All right. So let's look at the young girls that are disabled, that have one form of disability or the other. And they don't, like you said, they don't believe in themselves. But you need to do a lot of work to see that they come into that space where they say, yes, I can. What's the percentage like? What are the possibilities of you convincing them to accepting, you know, and begin to see themselves in another way, and then choosing to do something for themselves?
Okay, because I've worked in different environments now. When I was in Lagos, in the southeast, in the southwest, it was a little different. Because despite your disability, you have that spirit to push. But when I came to Abuja, it became a different ball game. I don't want to talk about religion, but I see a group of people who have decided to stay where the society has kept them, and it becomes a very difficult work to talk them out. One, your women, we are asked to stay behind, and therefore we are fine behind. And one other thing that actually made me set up this is that for how long can you be giving those? For how long can you be reaching out to people, giving them food, giving them dresses, giving them things, and they run out of it. And what happens? Go back to hopelessness. So why don't you set up something that will make them, once they come out from that pit, they now see a platform where they can run with. And that's what I'm trying to create. It's not easy to talk them out from that situation, because that's where society has placed them. Don't forget that these young girls have mothers in the house, and mothers from wherever you are, from your own side, will always ask the young girls, calm down, calm down. The society does not want you to do this. So your place is in the house, your place is actually in the kitchen. And here is somebody who is telling you, no, if you remain in the kitchen, you remain there. But you can see the outside world. So it's between, do I listen to my mom or do I listen to this woman who has come to do this to us, and so on. So those who are able to listen to you will come out and they'll excel. So it's a difficult task also to get them to that level where they will begin to believe in themselves and begin to open up and allow you to affect their lives by letting them know what they can do to improve their lives.
Wow. They really say that we're a product of the lead we put upon ourselves.
Exactly.
We are the only limiting force, and no one else, no matter the ability or disability you have, no one can limit you but yourself.
But yourself, yes.
Still Total Woman on AD4 TV Radio. If you're just joining us, we're looking at women and children living with disabilities and what a lot of people have been doing, especially my guests with our NGO We Women, to supporting these people. And what can you and I do today to boost their image and give them the positive esteem they need to add value not only to themselves but to society. I'll take a short break and I'll be right back. Please don't go anywhere. Yeah, welcome back. It's still Total Woman on AD4 TV Radio, and we're looking at women and children, especially living with disability. Okay, I know that organizations like yours are doing quite a lot. Like you said, it's still a drop in the ocean. Now let's look at government. Apart from the fact that after many years, it just round the corner here that this policy was updated to see that people living with disability are not discriminated against in workplaces and all that. What else do you think that government can do to supporting these people apart from just creating policies that you and I know sometimes are not implemented, and there is no organization in charge of seeing that these policies are implemented and people are penalized or queried for not implementing it? Like one, you said, buildings that do not put ramps or things that can help the disabled. So what else can government really do?
Well, thank you very much. You think I must commend the government because there's an act now, but where the problem is an enforcement. Is an enforcement. There's no enforcement of those policies for the benefit of the beneficiaries. And secondly, those people affected are not even aware of those policies. I tell you one thing, the 220 billion SME funds in CBN for entrepreneurs, 2% of it is reserved for people with disabilities. But you ask me, how many of them are aware? Most of them are not even aware. So if awareness is one, that fund is there, then you prepare them for the accessibility. So enforcement and awareness. If they get to know that the government is talking about them, they will come out. They will own the system. They will own that structure. Yes, there's a special assistant for that under, I think the office is under the vice president. But most people don't know about it. So if you don't know that the 2% is reserved for people in that category, how do they access it? So there should be enforcement, there should be enlightenment. Government should make it a point of duty to get these people, to train them, equip them with necessary skills. It's not just money. You can give that person money. If he or she does not have an avenue to utilize that fund, it goes that way. He or she uses it to eat food. I've got it to a community where we gave them loans and things like that. We now say, okay, let's even go and see how they are doing. And we were shocked. We were delightfully shocked. What they have done is to use it to buy. The woman said, one of them said, Madam, you have been so kind to us here. You know, you gave us money And today now we can buy Coke. We couldn't buy it before. I can buy Indomie. I can make nice rice. I pitched myself and pitched my colleague. I said, was that what the money was meant for? Obviously not. But because there was no avenue, there was no structure in place, she decided to use the money. And the children are happy. They could eat Indomie, they could take a bottle of Coke after food, and they are happy. But that money was not meant for that. So you need to let them know what this life is all about. You can help yourself with such funds. And when people come around and even make donations to you, you can also improve on that. But set up something that must remain, must be sustainable if you have funds.
And that sustainability comes from the place of government.
Yes, from the government.
Putting certain structure in place. Creating greater awareness that we are concerned about you. And then equipping them with the right skills.
It's not concerned, we are interested
okay.
in who you are and who you want to be. And this is how we can help you get to where you want to.
Now, what's the collaboration, what's the relationship or partnership or synergy between the private organization like yours, NGO, and government?
Yeah, you have Ministry of Women Affairs. You have like in Abuja here, the Women Development Center. For the women, they could also be trained there. You just pick them and get them trained first. You're training them on two aspects. One aspect is you are equipping them with skills. Second aspect is that invariably you get money. And when you get this money, you must channel it to useful venture. Like I keep saying, if you don't do that, money comes in. I'll eat first. So the awareness should be created. And the creation of skills, acquisition of skills should also be created, and they should be trained to acquire the skills.
Is there a forum where you have the opportunity to talk to the government about some of these things?
Yes, we are working with women organizations. ASWIM is one, AWIMS is one, Association of Women Entrepreneurs for micro, small and medium enterprises.
Okay.
And there are so many of them, pockets here and there. But like you said, you need to work with the central community to be able to actualize that. We're making a presentation to Ministry of Women Affairs. You know, luckily, Madam that is there now is trying to restructure to make sure that all organizations registered there are properly constituted and so on and so forth. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, let's come back to those who live with the people living with disability. You know, sometimes we have them as neighbors, we meet them in the marketplace, we meet them on the street. What is the orientation like? And how best do you think we can begin to treat them?
Just treat them like any other person, an ordinary person. Once you do that, you see the potentials in them coming out. But when you now say, this my daughter has one arm or one leg, she should not wash plates, she should not even go to the market to buy things, you are limiting that person. So the best thing is just clean up from your system that this person does not have any kind of disability. Even if it's physical. I've seen people without limbs that do things for themselves. Their legs become their writing, you know, points. They use it to write, they use it to cook, to do their hair. I've even seen one that does makeups with her legs. So you just accept that person. Don't pity, don't sympathize with them. Don't just say, this person, there's something different about this person. Treat that person like an ordinary person, and then you see the best come out of that person.
So when we see them, let's not do the pity.
No, don't do
let's
that.
not give them fish, but we should teach them how to fish.
And in Nigeria, it's a very horrible thing. Once you see someone, I've seen people that don't even need money. But because they have a physical challenge, people pass and say, and like, this man is like, is that person okay? But that's the way the society sees that person. That because, and that person might be poorer than the person he's giving money to. So just please accept them that they are normal human beings, they are people created by God, wonderfully created, beautifully made, with beautiful souls. Most of them have beautiful souls, and you need to relate with them.
You need to go beyond their physical. So let's talk about some of your achievements before we leave today. What are those milestones, those things you've achieved so far in the journey of working with women and children with disability?
Oh, thank you very much. We have been able to get a lot of women, reorientate them, get them to a point where they begin to assert certain things by themselves. I've worked with a group of women that their husbands have come back to say, Madam, thank you for what you have done in our wives. I've noticed A, B, C, D since she started, relating with you. It makes me happy. For example, I've had confessions from husbands that my wife can do different dishes now. My wife can take care of herself. My wife can now go to buy things that are finer than before, courtesy, your group. And we have also been able to extend financial help to some of them. They've been able to go back to business. They've been able to get back their children to schools. And they have been able to improve on their education. Iron sharpeneth iron. When they see you, they want to be like you. And when you tell them what you have done to get to where you are, okay, can we start? Of course, we can start from somewhere. And happily and luckily, we've been able to train some women to get back to school. Those who could not get to university level have been able to enroll and do open university programs. I've been able to enroll. Today now what is running is online courses, and most of them are free. And they have come back to say, wow, I now have, for example, a UN certificate. How could I have had this before? And most of them are free. So we're able to help them get back their lives, and we're going to be able to continue to do that.
So on that note, I want to say very big congratulations to you. One, for making that decision to go into a terrain that it's not about people not wanting to go in there, but having the patience and being emotionally stable to also help someone else, come out and own their own. So thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, my guest, Mrs. Frances Nneoma Beker, has been sharing her experiences after retirement for over 20 years in the banking sector, how she's using her experience to see how she can empower and help women living with disability to, first of all, self-help, and secondly, know that they are able to do it. And with her stories, you can see the smiles and excitement on their faces when they're able to achieve something. What are you doing today to make a difference in someone's life? I'll leave you with that question. My name is Muti Olori. See you again next week. Bye-bye.